Although the CPI is the most preferred way to report and calculate inflation, there are going to be a few problems with it. And like in most economics, you're going to notice that a lot of macroeconomic variables, you have to read between the lines a little bit. You have to take the reports with a grain of salt because the data can be easily manipulated, and there are also going to be a few issues with the calculation of it. Here under the CPI, a few of the different problems that we have with it are, number one, it measures only private goods. So it only takes a look at the market basket of goods and services that the BLS says that we typically buy on a monthly basis. It only takes a look at goods that we're going to be purchasing on a private basis. So it doesn't take a look at the public goods that we may necessarily want to go ahead and purchase as well. So it's leaving out a subset of goods that we consume on a daily basis, but it isn't going to be included within the calculation here. The CPI also tends to overstate inflation because it uses a fixed market basket. So in order for the BLS to build up the market basket, it has to use a lot of surveys. So it sends out a lot of surveys to a lot of people around the country, and these market surveys, they're rather old. So they're typically 3 to 5 years old. And we know how fast the economy and how fast tastes and preferences change. So there's going to be a little bit of a lag period to say exactly what the true market of basket of goods and services we buy on a monthly basis is going to be. Because it uses a fixed market basket, it does not account for product substitution, quality improvements, or new products. So if something becomes a little bit more fashionable, the CPI isn't going to go ahead and take that into account. It's going to lag behind fashion trends. It doesn't take into account new products. So we know that technology is fast-paced and fast-changing. We know that the vast majority of people probably nowadays have tablets, but the CPI, the market basket of goods and services, didn't take that into account until maybe just in the early, maybe later 2000s. So there's always going to be some type of lag period when we take a look at these market baskets. And then finally, the CPI measures only consumers' out-of-pocket healthcare expenditures, so what we pay out of pocket, and it doesn't really measure the overall rise in healthcare costs, which is obviously going to be larger in this case. So for these reasons right here, anytime the BLS does report inflation using the CPI, you do know that there are going to be a few issues with the calculation of it because it does leave out quite a few things and also does tend to overstate inflation just a little bit due to using a fixed market basket. So like we said before, with any of these macroeconomic variables, we're going to see the same in terms of unemployment. You need to take the data with a grain of salt, but now you have a better idea of exactly what goes into the calculation of these type of things. Just don't take the information blindly. You know how to read in between the lines and exactly how to calculate these sort of things, so you are a little bit more engaged with what the news stories say and what the news is going to report. Be very cognizant about whether or not the data is accurate, whether or not the data can be manipulated, and then you can go ahead and be sure that you are getting the true measure of inflation or unemployment, as we're going to see in the next sections.